Hi, I'm John McConnell, President and CEO of Victoria Gold. Victoria is a TSX listed company. Currently, our market cap is about 1.1 billion Canadian. We operate the Eagle Gold Mine in Canada's Yukon Territory. We're on track to meet guidance this year of just over 180,000 ounces of gold per year. Mine is running well. We certainly had our challenges over the past 2 years, not the least of which was COVID, but also some mechanical problems at the site. But we seem to have worked through those, and now we're looking at increasing production. And we have an internal project we call 250K. And that's to be at 250,000 ounces by 2023.
John,
talk more.
Well, we are going to talk more about it. So I appreciate you coming on again, John. We saw you back in July. Q3 results out. Nice steady growth. We've seen a real growth throughout the year. Sounds like you expect to finish the year off in Q4. With even better numbers if you're going to hit that 180 number this year. So maybe run through the highlights of the Q3 numbers, and I want to kind of pick up on that.
Yeah, I mean, Q3 was exactly as planned, on budget for us. I know there were some doubters, but we've always said, because we're a bit of a seasonal operation, that our production would be skewed towards the third and fourth quarter. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I know we produced over 50,000 ounces in Q3, which has us on track to produce over 180,000 ounces for the year.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's 55,827, which puts you just shy of 115,000 ounces for the year. So you're going to have quite a bumper Q4, but your expectation is that you will.
Well, in in August and September, we produced 20,000 ounces. So each of those months. And we produce 20,000, just over 20,000 ounces in October, November, and December, and we are above guidance.
So, I mean, talk to me about how you get to, you got the project to 250K for 2023, which is great. But you've been ramping up nicely. The trend is good. Trend is our friend at the moment. So what else do you need to do to ensure this increasing number? I mean, how do you get through those tons? How do you produce those ounces? What are the big challenges for you?
Yeah, two things. Number one is we're going to go from stacking 9 months a year to stacking 11 months of the year. We now have 2 winters behind us, and we understand the challenges of working in cold weather. So we're very comfortable going to stack 11 months of the year. Coldest month, January, we'll still not stack, and we actually need that to do some maintenance in the plant during that period. So that adds, roughly 30,000 ounces to our annual production. The other thing is there's a shear zone that runs through the center of the deposit. We now understand it totally, having been mining there for 2 years. It carries mineralization the same as the granodiorite. But one of the problems is when we blast it, it breaks very finely and actually causes us a few problems in the plant if there's wet material. But we see this as an opportunity that we could screen off that fine material and direct transport it to the leach pad. And that would give us 20% more capacity through the crushing plant. And that equates to another 30,000 ounces per year. So we've done the preliminary engineering, and we're proposing that we would screen off the fines between the secondary crusher and the tertiary. It's the tertiaries that are our bottleneck. So we've done the preliminary engineering. We're currently completing the detailed engineering we'll order the long lead equipment items this month, start construction in the latter part of May. June and July will be construction, commissioning in August, and then that has us running the plant through the third and fourth quarters of 2022.
I mean, John, talk to me about the valuation of the company. You know, it's 1.1, 1.2, depending on the day of the week. At the moment, you've announced 115,000 ounces for the year, 180,000 for the end of this year, and it's been a fairly strange market for precious metals, gold companies specifically, in the sense that it's been a sort of downward trend. You seem to have bucked that somewhat. So there's a big expectation on you delivering your 250K project. What are the pressures that what are the conversations that you're having with your institutional shareholders that has obviously made them support you through this kind of tricky period? What are they interested in?
Yeah, I don't think the market factors in 250K yet. None of the we need to get a study out, and we'll probably get something out in front of people in the first quarter of next year, so that people can fully understand it. Now it's really just John McConnell arm waving these ideas. I mean, as I said, we've done the engineering now, and the management team is very confident that we'll get to 250K, but it's still a little bit of show me. So I would say we're valued on producing 200,000 ounces per year.
But what are they waiting for, John? What's the thing that they're waiting for? You've got the Orion Mines and Coeur Mine and Van X and Fidelities. You name it. There's a bunch of people in it, the right names, and they've got big positions in you. You getting to 250, kind of like, so what? Is it that they're looking for you guys to be taken out? Is that the moment that they can materialize their holdings? Is that what they're holding out for? Or are you going to be suddenly dishing out dividends, which is, going to change their day?
I would say, some of our shareholders are a little different. Orion is different. They're private equity. Coeur is a mining company. But if you talk about the, the Van X, the Fidelities, the Forest Sales, they all encourage me to just keep doing what you're doing. Let's demonstrate that we can get up to 250K. Let's show some drill results below at depth at Eagle. Let's get some exploration results out from Raven and Lynx, and then we'll see some more value added to Victoria. And that's the time to sell. It's not the time to sell right now.
Okay. So they're signposting this really clearly for you. Get to your 250 and beyond, and that's the moment when we're going to check out. That's not going to help you, though. So what's the most efficient way for them to check out of and sell their shares?
Well, I think, everybody expects that we'll be taken over, or, we operate and build the next mid-tier mining company. Both create value.
Right.
One is longer term, and most of the institutional shareholders I talked about all have long-term visions, and they're not in it to make a quick buck over the next 3 months. They're there for 2 or 3 years on their horizon.
Right, but again, we kind of getting 2 or 3 years is great, but there's a moment. What will you have done in 2 or 3 years? But they still need to cash out here. Being wealthy and valuable on paper is different from them actually cashing in for their shareholders, and themselves. And so I'm just thinking, what's the expectation of you in 2 or 3 years? What do you need to look like for them to go, this is on plan, this is what we expected from John, and he's gone and done it? What's the company look like?
Yeah, I think, again, there's a number of options. One is we get taken out by another mining company. You mentioned Coeur, a large shareholder. Or two, we show that there's another mine in Raven, and we're developing it. And then, the third is perhaps we acquire something else. With our free cash flow, it puts us in a great position to be out looking at other things.
So obviously, Core have then got some interesting thinking to do because they're sitting at around just under 18% at the moment. They're busy they're busy elsewhere, obviously, and they're busy throwing off cash, and they've got a balance sheet as well. So, but they don't want to be overpaying for something like this, by leaving it too late, because they sort of understand what you've got. So 2 or 3 years may be too long for them. Likewise for you, in 2 or 3 years' time, you're going to know a heck of a lot more than you know now, and you've got some options on the table yourself. And whether or not you've got the energy or inclination or ambition to do that is kind of what I'm trying to understand. Because there's a kind of narrative around, hey, 1.2 billion company. Is there real leverage in this? Is there real opportunity for retail investors coming here, or is this all about the institutions?
Yeah, I guess, I go back to probably 2010, no, maybe a little later than that, 2011. We were a $60 million market cap company, so by developing assets, exploring and developing, you add value.
But would you add more value by spinning out some of your assets and sharing?
That's certainly an option we'd look at, but I would rather build a mining company than spread our management too thin trying to run 3 companies.
Okay, so you think there is still a growth component to this story? That's what I'm trying to get at, right? I want to say is there something in here for all investors? So you think, despite being the size you are, there's still a growth component to this?
Well, and I talked about Project 250K. We also have Project 2040, and that's extending the mine life another 10 years out to 2040, and that's Eagle at depth. Current mine plan goes down to about 350 meters. We have drilled a couple holes to 650 meters, and they're still in, mineralization. And this spring and summer, we drilled, I think it was another 10 holes down to 850 meters. And, you'll recall that the original feasibility study was at $1,250 gold. Well, certainly at $1,800 gold or even $1,700 gold, the mine life gets extended at depth. And, it's not the opportune time to do that drilling. We probably would have delayed that a couple of years if it wasn't for Coeur coming into our stock. But, with the possibility that they propose taking over Victoria, we want our shareholders to understand what the long-term potential of Eagle alone is. And then, we've already talked about the exploration at Raven and Lynx.
Yeah. Okay. So there's kind of defense move there, but at the same time, it's helping you understand what the potential is too. Okay. You're obviously you're producing a lot of cash. When do you think you start dishing out meaningful dividends to your patient shareholders? Or do you keep saying, well, actually, let's put it back in the ground. We can create more value that way. I mean, how do you play it?
Yeah, our focus right now is paying down debt. Okay. And we've got at $1,700 gold, we are focused on debt repayment, and we want to get that down below 100 million US by mid-year next year.
Where's it at today?
It's about 190.
Okay.
US. And then there's 2 things we can do with our cash. One is pay a dividend, as you've mentioned. 2, we could buy back shares. And, we'll start having those discussions at the board level early next year. But I'm a large shareholder of Victoria, and I know which direction I'll be pointing. That's on, putting in place a dividend.
Okay, right. You're 1.1% shareholders, so significant indeed. So dividend is the most likely. Do you think you need to do anything extraordinary to kind of compete with some of the other companies which are dividend payers out there, or do you think there's a kind of set number which is I guess the market would be comfortable with? Do you need to show off, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I don't think so. We're going to be prudent. We come from nothing, so we're going to be careful with our money. The one thing, if we put something in place in terms of a dividend, my observation of markets is they really don't like it if you reduce it in the future. So let's put something in place that's sustainable long term.
Right. And so when would it start? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? And what do you think a reasonable kickoff would be for a dividend?
Yeah, we haven't given that a lot of thought yet. We'll take advice from our financial advisors, and I've got a very experienced board of directors. Our chairman, Sean Harvey, is also the chairman of Perseus, who just announced a dividend. So, you can probably look at what Perseus is doing, and that'll give you a bit of a roadmap for what Victoria may do in the future.
Okay. Good company. We've had Perseus on, like those guys. I'll have a look, see what they're up to. I mean, with regards to, obviously, you've got a pretty fulsome board here. CFO what's his number one brief? Just pay down that debt. What else has he got to worry about?
Oh, he's got lots to worry about. But number one is let's get the debt paid down. And we're constantly talking to the banks that hold our debt and saying, hey, maybe you need to knock a point or two off the interest rate we're paying. So those discussions are always ongoing. And, when you got a million or 190 million US in debt, you knock a point off, it saves you $2 million a year.
They're also paying attention to you if you've got 190 million of debt, I suspect. But you won't have that problem soon when you get cash flowing. So you'll be able to maybe refinance it out with cheaper rates, is what you're telling us there.
Yeah, I mean, we're in discussions with them all the time.
Okay.
We've been a good customer. We've, made all the term payments that are required under the debt agreement. But we've also voluntarily made more than 20 million in payments this year, reducing the debt.
Okay. Just in terms of like Mark, obviously the board quite strong board, but in terms of you keeping your options open and keeping your eyes as to what potential there is, have you appointed anyone to kind of maybe look at the market, even for conversations with Kerr or others, just to get a sense of what those numbers look like? Because obviously without the data, you can't make decisions. Or is it a case of you just getting on with operations and you're focusing on that, and if something comes along, then you'll make those decisions? I mean, are you staying in front of it, is what I'm asking.
I think so. I think things like drilling Eagle at depth, we increased the budget of our regional exploration this year. And so, we're trying to stay ahead of it. Projects like 250K, and the guys are always looking at other little incremental things we can do to increase production.
Okay, no, and I get the staying ahead operationally. I'd expect that of you. You're ramping up nicely. I was thinking more about the market stuff in terms of what we can look at share price, and look at market cap, but what someone's prepared to pay today, because it's a meaningful project. It will make a difference to one of the big mid-tier players. Are you keeping your hand in and staying in front of those sorts of conversations so you get a sense of how they're valuing you, what that number looks like?
Sure. I mean, we've got some good financial advisors. We have the analysts cover Victoria, so we talk to them regularly.
Right.
We have a committee of the board we call the Finance and M&A Committee.
Right.
It used to meet once a year. Now it's meeting on a monthly basis, since the Coeur advance. And, We're having lots of good discussions at the board level, but a board meeting coming up in 2 weeks, and all of that is on the agenda again.
Okay, so that interests me. Okay, so that's part of your monthly discussions is around how the market is valuing you and what potential suitors there are, but there are no meaningful conversations. Obviously, okay, apart from Core, obviously significant holder and probably insiders to a lot of these conversations. So, but there's no other meaningful conversations going on around acquisition, your acquisition, as opposed to you making acquisitions.
Yeah, no, I mean, if your question is, are you talking to anybody about acquiring Victoria? We have set up a data room and we have signed a number of CAs, and people are doing their homework. And but I can't comment any further than that.
Okay, so people
in terms of us acquiring something, we've signed some CAs, looking at things, doing our due diligence. But we still feel the best opportunity for growth of Victoria is in our own backyard. Raven is looking spectacular, and Eagle at depth is looking good. We've got a number of juniors exploring around us. So, it bodes well for the future of Victoria to grow a company based in the Yukon.
Yeah, cheaper for sure. It's just a question that people are asking because they're obviously big merger recently. Well, I'm not even sure it's closed, but that's got people thinking about how these big companies time in the market, and the size of the projects that they do acquire have to make a meaningful difference to them. You qualify under that basis, so people are, it's fair enough that they ask these questions. So it looks like more of the same. Keep the operation moving smoothly. COVID has been an impact from you. You probably weren't affected by the fires, but COVID continues to be a problem here. In fact, more so where you are. Is everyone 100% vaccinated? Is it mandatory for you as an organization?
We've just put in place that the entire workforce has to be vaccinated by the end of November. Actually, mid-November, because they have the 2-week period. In Canada, the government has mandated that you can't fly unless you're fully vaccinated. So, a number of our employees from outside the Yukon wouldn't be able to travel to the mine anymore anyway. So we're seeing good cooperation there, and I fully expect that the entire workforce will be vaccinated in time.
That's really interesting, because that has caused problems elsewhere in terms of these mandates. Certainly we see a lot of stories coming out of the US around that one. Are most of your employees are local? But for the outsiders with the flight component, it's difficult. Are you prepared to let someone go if they say, I don't want to get vaccinated? You're going to make that call. It's a tough call.
Yes, no, we've made that call. And, we have to, protect the majority of our workforce. I'm responsible for their health and safety. And, we also have to make sure we have a healthy workforce in terms of for our shareholders. So it was a tough decision, and, lots of toing and froing. But at the end of the day, we decided that we would mandate vaccinations.
And is that happening a lot? We're certainly in the Yukon, but maybe even further down in like BC, because I know you live in Vancouver as well. So is that normal?
Well, most governments have done it.
Yeah.
So the federal government has mandated all, government employees have to be vaccinated. In the Yukon government has made the same mandate. I don't think it's happened in British Columbia yet, but I'm sure it will. And then, the federal government has mandated that you cannot get on a plane or a train unless you're fully vaccinated.
No exemptions.
So, well, there are some health and religious exemptions, but I understand it's pretty narrow.
Interesting. That'd be interesting. I think there'll be a lot more stories coming out around that. All around the world. Religious exemption, interesting one. Okay, well, look, John, look, I appreciate the update. Really nice to see the Q3 numbers, hit like you said they would. Q4 more of the same, and then I guess you've got some really nice decisions to make in early 2022. So appreciate your time today. Stay in touch.
Yeah, and watch for some pretty good exploration results from Raven Lynx and Rex Peso.
When? Tell me more. When can we expect that?
Well, the problems we talked about earlier with labor is being experienced by the assay lab, even more so, than us at the mine site. And the labs are backed up. I mean, we've got core we submitted for assaying back in April, and we have still not received all the results.
You're kidding.
No. So it's really bad. And, the assayers are there. It's the people that crush and grind the samples and get them prepared for assaying are all laborers, so unskilled labor. And that's where the shortage is in this country.
Unskilled labor is the problem, not skilled labor. That's unusual. Wow.
Because government pays young people to stay home.
Oh, you too.
I'll give you an example, and maybe I gave this example back in July, but we made offers to 4 third-year geology students to come up to the Yukon for the summer. And all 4 accepted the employment offers. And the week they were supposed to fly up to Whitehorse, 3 of them got a hold of us and said, we've decided to take the summer off. I don't have a lot of costs. I live in my parents' basement. The government's paying me X. So I'm going to party this summer.
Maybe I'm getting too old, but that didn't work in my day.
No, neither.
I had a father who had a different attitude to work. I hope some of those things start resolving themselves. I hope people realize that we kind of got to get back to work as best we can, and hard work and experience pays the bills. So, look, John, as always, great talking to you. Stay in touch. I will look out for the drill results, when they come through, and follow your story with interest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.